This is a demonstration of integrated martial arts stick choking set. It has 15 chokes, and they're just numbered 1 through 15. And we'll start with the fang choke. The fang choke is with the butt of the stick, and it's pulled in like this on the Adam's apple or on the jugular or carotid artery. Now my body is a backstop against it, so that when I press there, you can't go away from it. So that's number one. Then number two, I'm going to wrap it around his neck and into my armpit, which comes across the jugular and carotid artery. Then I'm going to get in close. I'm going to pull his arm and upper body towards the stick as I push against my armpit as a backstop. And there is the choke right there. Oh. Then I'm going to come across higher up on number 3, and I'm going to pull the other arm this way to make him solid and go across the same position. Or if I'm further over here, I'm going to go the Adam's apple and do an air choke. Then I'm going to come across this way. I'm going to go into my left armpit and position my hand here so that the stick is across one side of the neck and my forearm is across the other side of his neck. So we're going to do blood choke on both sides. So when I put my arm, this in my armpit, it acts as a stabilizer for the stick so it's solid. So when I squeeze, there's his neck right there in between. So that's number 4. On number 5 is cross-hand choke. So my forearm on this side and my forearm on the other side are going to get the blood chokes again. So I'm coming across flat with the back of the spine, and then I'm doing a scissors action, like this. Choke both sides at the same time. Then same thing from the back, except it's going to be an air choke across his Adam's apple. Arms across, one palm up, one palm down. Solid foot position. And same thing here, squeeze this way, pressure from the stick across his Adam's apple. That's a very dangerous one. Be clear that when you do this, take your time and do it slow. And listen for your partner's tap. Number 7. This is a flex of groin, which makes him bend over. And as he bends over, you bring your stick back over this side of his neck. Hand comes across the top. This right elbow is going to connect with his ear or temple. And I'm going to use the back of my forearm to press on his neck this way. So I'm squeezing him. And this we call a scissors action. So again, that looks like this. From the scissors, I'm going to go into sliding collar choke with a stick, which means I'm just simply going to come up on this side, position myself sideways, and pull straight into me. This forearm is against his neck, which creates a solid base. This bottom hand and top hand are pulling towards my body. So when his head hits my body, I've got a really solid position for my choke. Next I'm going to do a standing one wing V strangle. And so I'm going to have to come over here on this side of my neck and push this side of his neck and this side of his neck at the same time. Boom. Sometimes I can do this from a takedown position, which gives me a really strong type of hanging collar choke. So when I do this, my forearm is going to go across his Adam's apple. So I'm actually getting 2 to 3 points for the choke. Blood and air at the same time. Then I'm going to go into what we call the variation of the police choke with the stick. That's going to come around this way with my palm down. This stick is across the blood side of his neck, which is his jugular and carotid artery. My forearm is on the corresponding opposite side exactly. And this hand up here is going to squeeze like a vice. So I'm going to pull in this way and get the choke on both sides of the neck. My knee is in his tailbone down here, so he's solid. Top hand pulls this way. Bottom hand goes that way. So it's squeezing all at one time. Then I'm going to go into the winding choke, which is towards the front side of his neck, and tilt his head into the stick as I use my neck as a backstop. So I'm prying with the stick this way against my neck. And this pushes his neck into the stick, like that. Then I'm going to come around and I'm going to do an Adam's apple choke or air choke, which is straight across the Adam's apple, cross position, and just pull straight back like that. Then I'm going to come underneath and I'm going to do a sleeper type of hold, which goes across one side of the neck, not the front. And I'm going to pull him into me, just like you would on a sleeper choke. So it's going to come under the arm, here, and pull him in. Then I'm going to go into a deep collar choke, which means I will pull his material down because the collar works particularly well. So I'm going to pull down this way, and I'm going to pull up this way so that I am raising up like this, push, pull. Pull up, push down. Next I'm going to come over this direction, and I'll have you turn just a little bit. And I'm going to put the stick through here and the hand on top of the head. I'm going to push his head between my legs. And now I've got the stick across his Adam's apple. And I just pull up like that. So my knees are vice gripping him. And then this just pulls up. That's your 1 through 15 stick locks, stick choke locks. All right, now for a little more continuous flow, still very slow, however. This is the IMA stick disarms, 1 through 15. That doesn't mean there aren't more disarms. There are many disarms. These are just a few foundational disarms. Starting with the number 1 angle, I'm going to hook underneath and push my stick this way as my arm comes back this way. Yeah. So I'm doing this angle. Then number 2. Number 2 is our standard block and sandwich up, grabbing his stick, pushing towards me, pulling towards me here, pushing away on this hand to do your disarm. Unit number 3. When we inject this, often this injects into his groin or his foot.
Is that one?
Yes, sir. So come across. As you cross your hands, the left hand's on the bottom. This hooks here, step forward. Bottom hand shoots as if I'm going to do a chopping motion here. I'll do it one more time. And you see, it ejected into his knee. Number 4, pat down and snake. Stick away. Back down, deflecting. So when you do that, you have to do it when he's about here. If you wait till he's here, you're going to miss it and he'll probably still hit you. So here, deflects it down, and then your second hand comes up underneath. You may have to move in. You hook it in the bend of your arm, push down with the fingers, come up with the elbow, and injects into your possible other opponent. Number 5 is hooking with the puño or the butt as you push-pull. So I'm going to pull this way, and I'm going to push that way against his thumb. Number 6 is the roof block. And I'm going to come around, turning his wrist up, hooking this way, and throwing the stick into possible other opponent. Number 6 again. Number 6 again. Roof block. Come all the way around. And then just flick it that way to the ground. Okay, once more on that one. Come down, big circle, and down. Okay, number 7. We're going to come up, grab his wrist, turn it, and this is going to go like I'm going to hit him here or hit him here. It's going against the stick here. So from this position, I'm going to turn his wrist and eject the stick right into him. Same motion I would use to hitting with the butt. Okay, once again. And number 3. 3 is down this way. And I'm going to come back, palm up, and again eject it into his body. Once again. Down and eject. Most of the time that's going to go into the groin or the knee. Yeah. All right, where are we? Okay, the next number. Going off to the side. And as I do this, I grab the wrist, pull it back again, palm up, turn his palm up again, and palm down with my stick. I'm going to eject it into him again. So once again, it's coming out. And again, I'm right in the groove. We stand over here. And the next one. The next one is going to be a deflection for a 5 angle, but it's number 10. So I'm going to just deflect this way. As I do that, I'm going to grab and pull this way and push against his thumb. So it's going to slide. Oops, I'm sorry.
No, it's good.
You slide in there like that. So once again, boom. And usually what happens is that when a person thrusts or hit, they're tight with the grip, and then they relax for a second at the end of it, and that's when it's easiest to just pull the stick right out of their hand. Okay, number 11 is umbrella block. I'm going to turn it around, palm up. I'm going to use my arm as a vise, and I'm going to hit short in with my stick. So I'm grabbing it with my bicep. Turn around and in close. Once again. And the next one, number 12, number 12, I'm going to pinch his thumb. So from his position where this is the backup, I'm just going to grab his stick here with my hand, grab both sticks again. Now I've got his thumb in between the two sticks and just squeeze with his hand. Boom. It's very painful. So once again, I can bring it up to this position, so it's an awkward position for him to counter in this position. Once more. And the next one. This is a stop block. And then I'm immediately going to catch the stick, turning his palm up, going against the thumb and finger grip. And to do that, as in most of these, you actually hit the body in class to make sure you miss, but most all of these end up hitting the person's body. So stop block, and take it away. Once more. Stop block, take it away. Okay, the next one. From here, I'm going to use my body or thigh to eject it. So this is an outside stop block. Turn his wrist and use my foot, my hip, my waist, or whatever I want to eject it, but some part of the body. Once again. And then the last one, going to deflect, grab his wrist, again turning slightly up. Now I'm going to go like a motion through his body like this, which makes the stick fly away. Deflect, and often that will deflect right into his body. Once more. So with all these stick choke sections or disarm sections, we're just showing you the straight moves, not adding anything extra. Of course, as you know, you can add anything you want, which brings me to the idea of basics, which we haven't covered really before. So basics are how you might use a stick to follow up with things. So borrow your stick for a minute. So stick basics, you start with just twirls, like so. And the reason for that, forward and back, is to get a sense of balance of the weapon, to get familiar with the weapon. That's all it is. Getting used to the weapon, knowing how to control it, feeling the balance. You have a butt end sticking out a few inches for better balance. If you grab it down here, too close to the end, you're liable to lose your stick because of momentum sometimes. It's going to carry it beyond your grip. So when you choke up like so, you have better control of your stick for all your moves. Okay, let's just have you stand with an arm out. Okay, so in terms of stick basics, obviously we have our 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 angles of attack, starting again with the 1 and the 2 and the 3 and the 4 and the 5. With that, we can add different variations. We can add upward type slashing motions as we had a bladed weapon, and coming from the underside up, this will be called a figure 8 type pattern. Up, up. Now you notice my feet are pivoting. If I don't pivot my feet, exaggerate this way, I'm not going to get this shoulder and wrist in the right position to get a good angle. Well, it's very awkward, very clumsy. So upward figure 8s. We can do downward figure 8s. Still pivoting the body. Left hand is always here in the chest, ready to check. And that's very important habit to get into. Don't have it dangling down here. So downward figure 8s. This could be always on the hand, thumb, bony parts like the elbow, funny bone. That can be legs, knees. It could be head. It doesn't really matter what your target is, it's a matter of your purpose. Then we have half X's, which is like, I just go in a straight line, like half of an X would be one line up, one line down, same line up and down. So if I caught in the elbow and back down, caught in the fingers and back down, it's a half X. Palm can be this way, it could be this way, and turn, it doesn't really matter. It's the angle we're talking about. Full X would be this part of the X, and then now here's the corresponding part of the X. So when it comes up and up, so there's your X pattern, up, up. It's similar to a figure eight, it's just more linear in the movement, less rounded off on the end. Let's see, what else do we have? Oh, we have abanico or fan. Fan can be elbow, head, or head, fingers. Any way you'd like to work it. It can be used for a kick or something low. So let's say this is a kick. Oops, sorry. So I've got a 1 and a 2, and I pivot in order to get the best motion. So all I'm really doing is moving my wrist like this. But as I pivot, I get more momentum and less strain in my forearm. So when you do this on this angle, you need to pivot. Whenever I do it up here, I should be pivoting also because I have more control over it if I do it that way. Let's see. Oh yes, then we have, this doesn't really have a name, but it's as if I were slicing up and coming right straight back down, but I'm going to kind of let it roll, bounce off his forearm for practice. Okay? Hit the meaty part so it doesn't hurt the bones, which in reality is where you're hitting, but in class we hit the meaty part of the arm so it doesn't hurt him. So when you come up, let this rotate back. So in minute detail, I'm really got a good grip on the stick, but I'm not overly tight. So when I come up, I'm not going to lose my stick. In class, we're allowed to open the hands a little bit and let it rotate just to get a feel of balance of the stick. But in combat, you're going to keep a good grip on that stick so it doesn't go flying out of your hand. Let's do the combination with 2 sticks. 2 sticks each. You may have to stop. All right, this has got to be the 1 through 15 disarms, done in a little more fluid manner. And remember, this is a practice session, so we're not competing. We're allowing each other to practice on each other so we can get the principles, the leverage, the distance, and also do it safely so we don't hurt each other. In reality, we would have a lot of contact while doing these to the person's hand or to his head as we go through motions, which are really not emphasized during this. All that's emphasized here is the takeaway. And the principle is that when I make a grip, my thumb and finger are the weakest point in the grip. So if I go against that point of your fingers here, that is the weak part of my grip. And so that's what we're doing with all the takeaways, is we're going against the thumb and finger grip part, the weakest part. Okay, number 1. So one way we might practice that particular move is to have a stick come up and bounce it off like so. You come up and underneath and back down on top. So you can turn the body as you do it, turning your body, get a better angle. Okay, so now we're going to do a drill. It's a coordination drill. But before we do, I'm going to actually show you a little more advanced technique, which is not something I recommend for beginners, but as you progress, you want to know that it exists. And what this is a type of fake, whereas I will start my number one angle of attack, but I'm going to twirl it. And number two, I'm going to twirl it. So the timing is that if he thinks I'm going to hit him, he's going to block, boom. And then if I rotate it, I'm going to go past the stick to his hand. So the more he believes that I'm going to hit him, the more he blocks. Boom. And then I just end up right there. The same thing with number two. As I come in here, then the timing is the stick gets out of my line of fire and just leaves me a nice hole, just barely. So this would be, I'm just going to do the motions. So number five would be coming up, rolling it down. So if he were to block it, again, so he expects to be in contact, there's no contact to make. So that'd be more advanced exercise. It takes a lot of practice to get the timing right to actually use that. But once you do, it's a good fake. All right, the coordination drill is to get your distance, timing in a safe way, and to learn how to position your body and spin off of his movements as well, so they're coordinated together so we don't clash and hurt each other's fingers. So we start with a high-low, high, low, high, low. Then we go to what we call the even six count, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then we go to the 8 count, starting here, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we start all over again. So it looks like this. High, low, high, low. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So slower a little bit here so you can kind of get the idea of what we're doing. This high-low goes to the head and to the knee. Boom, boom. Same thing on the other side. Boom, boom. Then we're going to kind of stand like this for what we call barrage. So our elbows are in, sticks, points are out, and you just kind of move the body this way without moving the arms. So it's moving the body, and then we go lower. So we drop it, keep the elbows in. So we're hitting like this, and then we get lower and do the same thing. So it's high, medium, and low. Then we're going to go to what we call the 8 count. So starting from the very beginning again, we're going to go high, low, high, low. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then the 8 count has to be this way, under the arm. And we hit the head, then we hit low. He matches me exactly. Hit high, tuck it up there. Hit high, tuck it underneath the armpit. Hit down, tuck it on the neck. Hit high, tuck it out here. Hit head, and then finish. So we'll do that sequence once again.
Is that 8?
Yes. Now go very slow with the same thing. All right, so this type of drill is important because we get to learn to hit from low, hidden positions, so to speak. So when we do this, and if I were hitting his hands, I could do more of a windmill pattern based on this. I'm just shortening up the movements that we did on this 8 count. So this is very important for in close. I don't have so much distance to reach. That pretty much concludes the basics. What we really haven't looked at too much is the stances, but stances can be flat-footed. However, when you are on one foot on the ball of the foot and the other foot flat-footed, you tend to be able to shift your weight easier and faster than if you're flat-footed, and then you have to lean too much. So by being light on one foot, like so, or the other, I can move easier without shifting my weight. My weight is right underneath my ankle here. I'm not leaning over too far to get off balance. Got my center of gravity right over this ankle. So as I'm moving light-footed. So I can do that by having this kind of a stance. That's primarily it. The rest of it is up to your imagination as how creative you can get with the individual moves. There's really no such thing as doing it wrong because angles change in real combat and targets change. And you may find that an unorthodox way of moving works for you. It may not work for me, but it may work well for you. So go ahead and experiment with it. And in terms of principles, we want to be aware of the angling and zoning concept. So right now, if he has his stick up, let's say, right now we're both even in terms of reach, either foot, all 4 limbs have good reach. Now his center line is right down the middle, my center line is right down my middle, and our center lines are like connected like so on each other, like an arrow tip, pointing this way, pointing this way. Now, if he stays there and I move off that center line, which I was here, now I've got a momentary advantage because my center line is here, his is off to infinity, and I kind of zoned off the reach of his rear weapons, his foot and his hand. Over here, he has all 4 weapons, just like I do, that are easily reaching him or me. So the more I move over here, the more advantage I have because I'm only worried about his closest weapons. Not that he can't use that, but for a moment, I have a better advantage because these have better reach. This he has to move again to reach as well. So if he moves, now we're equal again. We had our center lines pointing right at each other. So the preference is to move towards his backside rather than this way, because now he's still got 4 weapons that can reach me. Okay. So until I get further over, I'm not really having an advantage. So go to the backside. If you're right-sided or left-sided, it doesn't matter. Just figure out how to get to his backside. The more you can get to the backside, the better, because then he's going to have to shift his weight and face you again. And while he's doing that, I have a momentary advantage, and we're talking about hundredths of a second here. It's that fast. So that would be called angling and zoning. When I angle, I zone off the rear weapons. Center line being simply that I get off the center line to have a momentary advantage. All right, so what I'm going to demonstrate is what's called largo mano, or long hand. And what that means in the Filipino martial arts in particular is that I'm going to be able to hit my opponent's hands, wrists, elbows, but I can't reach his body. So that's being far enough away from his body that they can't reach it. So it's also called defanging the snake.
Because as we know, if a snake doesn't have his fangs, right, he's really not a danger. So when you hit a person's weapon hand, the hand they're holding their weapon in, like a knife or a club or something like that, and you hit it and you paralyze that hand, they can't grip that weapon anymore. So if they can't grip the weapon, they're really not such a great danger. But after you've defanged the snake, then you can close in and use the stick or your weapon to the body if you want to, or you can just exit, get away. So this is how it looks. And this is important to do this slow. So when you're first learning this, you have to go slow, or you're not going to get this exercise. As simple as it is, it's probably the hardest thing you'll ever learn with the stick. And it's really got to do with timing. So what's going to happen is Sean's going to feed me 1 through 5 lines of attack in order. So remember, 1, 2, 3, 4, and anything in the center is 5. And we're doing it in that order so you can start to associate body mechanics and anticipate easier how this is done. And what it is I'm going to meet him in opposition. So let's say he did a straight line. I have to get off the center line, off to one side or the other, in order to be effective. I don't want to stay right in front, because it's not going to line up quite right. So I have to get off the center in some way. So while I'm doing that, you can notice that I'm doing that. I'm getting off the center line. And I'm getting off in a way where I can do this at length. So I'm not in real close. I've got room to move around. If we're in close, to be the same thing, I just shorten up my movements a little bit. But what I'm going to do when he does like a number 1, for example, which comes across like this, I'm going to meet him in opposition. So if this hand were my hand and this is his, I'm going to hit him like this. So if he's going like this, I'm not going to try and hit him on this side, the direction he's going, because I might not ever catch up with him. If he goes fast, I can't catch up. But if he goes this way and I hit him against the same direction he's hitting, I'm going to collide with him. So that's what I'm doing in this feeding exercise, is I'm colliding with him. So I have to hit through with my motion faster than he moves to avoid hitting him in class. So you'll see him feed slow, and I'm going to hit fast. Now, part of the reason for that is because I can't wait for his hand to get to the center line before I start my move. It's going to be too late. That means that if we meet in the center line, he has the potential to hit me as easy as I have to hit him. It's just the mechanics of it. So when he's about here in his motion, I've got to hit through and get out of the way. So his follow through doesn't cut me, because I'm gone. I'm not lingering there like this. I'm hitting through every time. Okay, so this is how it looks very slow. As he gives me a number 1, boom, right there. So you see that when his arm was right about here, I have to be on my way. If I wait for him to get to the center, now we both can reach identically, okay? Here, boom, and I get out of my way. As he follows through, he's missed my body. My arm is not in the way to get hit. Boom. Then I have to hit through again before. So back up a little bit with that number 2 angle. So right, boom. So slower. So like here, I have to hit through. Remember, I don't want to wait till I get right in the center line to try and hit, because I can get hit just as easy there as he can hit me. So over here, hit through. He comes again, hit through, hit through. As the other hand comes, get off the center line. Get off the center line. Get off the center line. So you can do combinations. So you can hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you don't have to do just one, but your timing is what's important. So it gives me a number 5, for example. Okay, that's right in the center. So it's easier to hit if I'm off the center line that way or this way. I have a better angle for collision. If I'm right in the same center line, it's like a small dot coming at you, okay? As opposed to more of a surface that you can line up to hit. So you have to get off the center line to get that more surface area to hit. Okay, so that's long range. Long range, and feeding is what he's doing. He's giving me energy to practice with, slow enough that I can see it coming, and I can start to associate the mechanical movement of a 1 angle of attack, a 2 angle of attack, a 3 angle of attack, a 4 and a 5. And so I can use my subconscious eventually to not think in terms of words like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 angles, but rather, oh, there is that angle, without identifying it. You just know that it's coming this way, and you know that if you meet it in opposition and get out of the way, that you're going to be successful. So that's how the long range works. And again, you got to go slow. One guy is going real slow, the guy's going fast.